Good evening, everyone. How's everybody doing out there? Welcome to another edition of Legends from the Past and the Future show. I am Armand, and Ayana, how are you doing?
Hey, all is well. How's everything with you?
Everything is good. Ayana, how was your day today?
You know, it was productive, and that's what I like to do during the week. Hopefully, wish every day could be like that, but today was a pretty good day.
That's good. And the weather's starting to take shape now, huh? It was 77 degrees today.
It is, yes. I love it. Anything below 60 is cold.
Well, guess what, man? We got a power-packed guest tonight in honor and recognition of Women's History Month. Her name is Carolyn Thurston. What can you tell me about Carolyn Thurston, Ayana?
She is an amazing woman. She has an amazing story, and she is the first African-American woman to create a franchise from in-home health care.
Awesome.
In-home senior care.
Well, that's awesome. You know what? Well, let's not delay any further. Let's go ahead and bring her to the show. Let's bring her to the stage. Miss Carolyn Thurston. How you doing, Miss Thurston?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I'm very excited to be here with both you and Ayana.
Well, you know, it's an honor to have you on the show, and welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So the way that we start this show is we go back down memory lane, okay? You can tell the viewers, where were you born and raised?
So actually, I was born in Mountain Home, Idaho. Okay. Yep, Mountain Home, Idaho. And my father was in the military. And so we had the great opportunity of being able to travel. And so we were only in Idaho for maybe a year. So I haven't been back yet. So that's a place that I need to work toward getting back and seeing.
That's awesome. What branch of service did he serve?
He was in the Air Force.
Okay. We're going to forget that, okay?
Which branch were you in?
There's only one branch. That's the United States Army.
Okay.
We're going to make sure we don't talk about the Air Force much. Okay?
I love them all, though. But thank you for serving our country. We really appreciate that.
Well, thank you. Now tell us, what are some of the things that you did while growing up?
Wow, that's interesting. Because we traveled quite a bit, I used to love to read. I think I just became a really avid reader, but I was always finding books that helped me to improve myself. Because of us moving, I think I became very shy because I was always like the new person in class, always having to make new friends. But so reading, I loved cheerleading. So I did that. I tried volleyball. I tried a little bit of basketball too. That didn't work out too well, but I did try a little bit of basketball. You know, in my time when we were in high school, they believed in introducing us to a lot of different sports. Tennis was also something I did. So just a lot of different activities, skating. I love skating, and babysitting, right? Entrepreneur spirit. I started babysitting very early. Serious entrepreneur doing babysitting.
Awesome. Now, did you go to college?
I did. I actually went to North Carolina Central University. Yes, I got
Okay.
in Durham, North Carolina, for those who don't know where that's actually located. But I received my bachelor's of science in sociology from there. But I had a desire to still become a registered nurse. So I found the best nursing school in the nation, and that's Winston-Salem State University. So anybody looking at becoming a registered nurse, I tell them that's a great school to go to. So I received my nursing degree, my bachelor's of science in nursing from Winston-Salem State.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. And that's what you majored in college.
I did. I majored in nursing. When I first went to Central, sometimes I had never been away from home. So a lot of times when you get away from home, you maybe aren't as focused in on your work. So nursing was my initial major, but anything that dealt with helping people, I also thought maybe I wanted to be a social worker, just anything to help people. So when I wasn't performing as I would have liked to in nursing, I changed my major to sociology. So that's why I found the Winston-Salem State so I could complete that process.
Well, that's awesome. So you didn't have the freshman problem that everybody normally had.
What's the freshman problem?
Well, they get caught up in partying and all that stuff,
No, and you guys will say I'm probably a little bit boring on that side. No, I didn't get caught up. Maybe a little bit, maybe in a little different way, because your attention isn't as much on your books. And I was one that I needed to really be into my books to really obtain the information. And so, so I guess I should say I did get caught up a little bit.
Well, before I pass it on over to Ayana, are you married and do you have children?
I am married. My husband and I, which is Charles Thurston, we've been married now. Lord, I always look at him. He's not around to tell how many years, but we've been married 32 years. And yes, but we dated 7.5 years. So I tell them all of my young adult life, we've been together, right? And we have 2 beautiful daughters. And my oldest daughter, Jasmine, and then my youngest daughter is Mariah. And I have 2 grandchildren, Ayana, who is my oldest, and my grandson, he's 4. He just turned 4, which is Jaden.
Okay. Well, big shout out to Lenny and Vanessa for joining us. Ayana, it's on you. Okay. Ayana seems to be frozen. Ayana?
I think, am I good now?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for joining us, Carolyn. So tell us a little bit about, I know that you didn't start high school here in the United States. Tell us a little bit about that experience. Do you see any differences between being overseas and being, like high schools in the United States?
Yeah, so we, with my father being in the military, we did get the opportunity to live in England for 3 years. And when I first heard about us going there, I was so excited because I knew I was going to be a rising high schooler. And I said, oh, it'll be great. I can always say I graduated high school from England. And, but it was really a great experience. But we went to an American high school. It was Lakenheath American High School, which was right on the Air Force Base. So they were all American students, but we lived on the economy, which was outside of the Air Force Base. So we got to experience the culture. And I think that was the biggest part, is the culture difference that's there. But we had a really great time. Everyone always talked about, even at our young age, of getting back to the United States. We couldn't wait to get back, but we had a great time while we were there, just exploring, visiting different areas, that kind of thing. The biggest thing I saw there too, which was probably a love for seniors, even came out even more, is I just saw how people really took really great care of their older loved ones. And it was more like they cherished them, a lot of great respect for them. And that's where the seed was planted, where I wanted to do something that could help cherish our seniors, so they didn't feel like once they reach a certain age, they're just like thrown away. So that's where the seed, when I was in England, was planted to, I thought I was going to develop a daycare for the senior population. And at that time, there was not a lot of daycares around, right? But my thinking was, we are going to be working. We'll have children of our own, like the sandwich generation, right? And we would want to have our parents, we don't want to leave them at home. We're going to want them to be in a good place while we go to work, and then we can go back and pick them up. So the ideal of an adult daycare was planted when I was 18. And then it just developed into something even greater, because, someone said to me, not only do you have a daycare, but you have 24-hour care. So we're not just taking care of people for 6 or 7 hours, right? But we're taking care of them for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's our specialty area.
Wow, that's amazing. And so, fresh out of college, once you finished nursing school, what was your first position? What was your first job?
My first job was here. If anyone knows about North Carolina, there was a hospital that was called Durham Regional Hospital. And I chose that hospital because it had that real community-like feel for it. At that time, and this will tell you how old I am, they used to have, nurses were still wearing the nursing hats, and they were still wearing the white uniforms, right? And it was like the doctors, the nurses, everybody knew everyone. So the first place I started to work was at Durham Regional, and I was on a medical surgical floor. So I got an opportunity to work with all types of people, young, old, all kinds of diagnoses. But during my schooling, I had decided I wanted to do home care. I followed a public health nurse through one of our rotations, and oh, she made such a difference. It was like the light bulb went off, and I said, this is what I want to do. And everyone says, yeah, Carolyn, but at that time, they wouldn't allow you to do home health or home care until you had gotten at least a year experience in a hospital setting. So right on my anniversary date of being in the hospital for a year, I already had a job. And I moved right into that job and started the journey into home health. Still hadn't started my own business yet, but I was starting to learn the industry more at that time.
Wonderful, wonderful. Armand, back to you.
So now you said you didn't start your business yet.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of the things that you were doing before starting your business?
So I was working. I was good. I was working, and my husband and I, we both had entrepreneurial spirits. And so remember I told you as young, probably about 10 or 11, I started babysitting. So I was finding other things that I could do because I had this desire to be my own business owner. So we both started the Amway business, and we started working that together even before we got married. So we were doing some of that and just working. I was raising my girls. And then one night, I'll never forget this. It's like when God puts a dream inside of you, and if you're not adhering to it. And it was in December of 2005. And I remember it clearly. I was so tired. I came home that night, and it was like I just kept having this feeling like, okay, you need to start. You need to, because he had given me the name of my business. Remember, I shared with you in when I was 18. So wisdom was given to me the name. So I kept saying, but God, I don't know how to. I don't have the money. But about this. So I kept coming up with excuses after excuses. So this night, it was more like, just do one thing. What is the one thing that I could do right then at that particular time? So you know what it was? I could fill out an application. So I filled out an application to apply to get a license in the state of North Carolina to have a home care company. At that time, it only cost $350. And I said, oh, I have $350. So that's how the process started. So by 2000, February of 2006, Wisdom Senior Care what came into fruition in the natural, I should say.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, before I have you expound on Wisdom Senior Care,
Mm-hmm.
you did child care. Now,
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest problems that military personnel have is
Mm-hmm.
child care.
Yeah.
Were you able to do that for the different airmen?
Oh, yeah, I did. Actually, because we lived in base housing, we had a lot of mothers and fathers who maybe both of them were in the military, or it could be one was and maybe they wanted to go out. I don't know. But people were always asking me to babysit for them. During the school year time, it was in the evening, weekends, during the summer. I mean, wow, I really made a lot of money because I would, and so I probably stayed out of trouble too, right? Because I
Yeah,
was babysitting all the time, but it really was fulfilling. And the word just gets around, and like you say, they're looking for people just like we do for our seniors, right, who have
mhm,
integrity, who have a commitment, right, but
yeah,
also just like with children, with our senior population, you need to have compassion, right? And
yeah,
so you can't just be doing something, and you won't stay in it long if that passion is not there. And so that's what that's what I was doing with the childcare piece of.
awesome, awesome. So now it's time for you to dig into that Wisdom Senior Care,
it.
right? All
Yeah,
right.
I love
Yeah.
Wisdom Senior Care. I love
Okay.
talking about the senior population.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna pass you over to Ayana, and I'm pretty sure she's got you.
Okay, I'll take it.
So before we get all the way there, what I want to know is what were some of the challenges along the way? So before you actually got to start your own company,
Mhm.
it sounds like you went to nursing school, you traveled a lot with your family in the military. What
Mhm.
challenges did you face during that time, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, I think my number one challenge was myself. The confidence, lack of confidence, I would say, was the main thing. And my mother was probably one of my biggest cheerleaders, so she was always encouraging me and telling me what I can do. I was not the what they would say the A student coming up in high school and all my probably all my schooling, right? But I was a dreamer. And I remember my science teacher in the sixth grade told my mother, I'm not sure what she's doing. She can be looking right at me. And I could say the sky is green, and she'll say yes. But the thing is, I was dreaming. I was always thinking about what could I develop, right? What could life be like? And so I think even though I was dreaming those things, truly having belief in myself that I honestly could do that, I had to work on that. So I think number one was just that confidence level I had to build. That was the major thing. Ayana, to your question, sometimes people will put different things like finances, or maybe this person didn't give me an opportunity, or this. We could lay out a whole bunch of things, right? But I've come to realize that it's not about those other things. It's really was all about me, and it continues to be about me and the confidence that I have myself. Because if we think about it, everybody has some type of struggle, right? But how do you overcome that? Like you just stated. Well, my belief is in God, and God, with knowing who I am, whose I am, who He's created me. And so having that confidence, and once I truly understood that, then I realized what's already mine, right? And I think that helps someone's mindset totally. So that's how I would explain that.
That is amazing advice for anyone who was listening. Just confidence in yourself. I love that. And so fast forward, you fill out the application. This is the one thing you can do. And I love that concept as well. So the one
Yeah.
thing you could do, you did it. And how did you get your first client?
Oh, I love that question. It's so, and I teach, where I have a lot of people I meet, and in my franchise system, a lot of my franchisees, I tell them our very first client of Wisdom was a dog. So I should say, not only did I do childcare, but I did pet care as well.
No.
And so, but it's true. My very first client was a dog. So this lady hired me, a senior lady, to come and walk her dog twice a day. I would come 7 days a week and walk her dog, take her dog to the groomers. I think we did that at least once every 2 weeks. Pick the dog up. This dog had a great life. Then I would go to Sam's Club, buy this dog once a week a whole rotisserie chicken. And that's what the dog would eat for that week, right? So what happened, as she started to see how committed I was to that task that she needed for me to do, she saw the compassion. She started allowing me to do more for her. So I would know, like maybe she was getting ready for dinner, and where she lived, they would all eat together in a nice dining area. So she started letting me help her get dressed, maybe small little things, until that one client ended up becoming a 24-hour, 7 days a week client. So I always tell people that you never look down on what seems like small beginnings, right? And so that was our very first client.
Well, I love that. If you can't take care of my dog, you definitely can't take care of me.
Right.
Back to you, Amma.
A lot of people, it's easy to come up with an idea of what to do, but where we fail at is executing. Now, you started your business in 2006.
Yes.
Did you anytime waver on doing or going through with it, or were you able to just get right into it?
No, with anything that's worth having, we're going to have a little obstacles that are going to be put in front of us. One thing that you'll find is I'm very persistent, and it takes a lot to really stop me, and especially if I know this is something that God is leading me to do. But I can't say that you don't have those times where you stop and you say, okay, God, now are you sure this is what you want me to do? Oh my gosh, it would be so much easier if I could go and do blah, blah, blah. But no, that's not what He's telling me or calling me to do. So it's just very important to just stay persistent, stay focused on what that goal is. And don't think that just because you make the decision to be your own boss, I think people think, oh, money's going to fly out the sky, and oh, this is going to be happy, and this is going to be great. But it's life. We're still living life. We're still doing things, right? But it's not, you still are going to have to work at it, and you're still going to have to work hard at it. But the rewards are great.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. Now you have your haters. How did you manage your haters?
Do we always know where our haters are? We don't always know, do we? That's a very good question. So you have people, and I don't know, I think you have different levels of haters. And sometimes it can be people really close to us, and maybe they're not necessarily hating, but they're warning you because they want to make sure you know what you're doing. Are you sure this is what you should be doing? So maybe they're trying to protect you in some ways. That could be, the case. Or they'll tell you all the bad things that have ever occurred, or, those kind of things. But you still, again, have to know that this is what you need to be doing. And then listen, once you find you need to separate, sometimes, not sometimes, all the time, you have to be very careful about who's in your circle, right? Because you don't have to be around those people who don't understand. Because a lot of times people may not understand, but as they continue to watch and observe you, they learn. And because you stayed persistent, who knows, you could make a big difference in their life too, and maybe even encourage them to take that step and move forward with whatever desire they have on the inside of them.
Well, there's no doubt. Wisdom, that name, Wisdom Senior Care, you are really talking, or you are spilling a lot of wisdom right here tonight. And before I give it to Ayana, shout out to Silk Sims, Don Porter, and Vanessa Turner. Thanks for joining us. On you, Ayana.
All right. So you start your Wisdom Senior Care. First client was a dog, and then followed by the owner.
Yes.
And the company eventually evolves into a franchise. Tell us about that, and how did that come about?
Wow. So that wasn't a real turnaround or fast process. I started the business in 2006, and I want you guys to keep in mind, this is how God's plan is so much greater than our plan. My vision was not what God's vision is, right? I was just being obedient, right? And so in 2006, my whole desire was just to help those seniors be able to stay in their homes, because I know in my hearts of hearts, that's where they want to be. And if we could do that by finding those caregivers who had that compassion, right? Not just because they want just a job. We all need a job, but in order to do this, you have to have compassion. So it was so important to me to make sure that we were bringing on those right kinds of people. And I'm sorry, I kind of got off. What was your question again? I want to make sure I stay focused.
You're doing a great job. So this is your night, so it's fine. And I just asked, how did the business evolve into a franchise?
So with that compassion that I had, I went from 2006 to about 2015. Okay. So around 2015, I started to get burned out. And I don't know if you have ever, or anyone who's maybe listening, this could have happened to you. Something that you have such a true passion for, and all of a sudden you're just like, you know what? I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. I don't even know if this is the right thing to do. I was so emotionally tired. I was spiritually, just to take a breath. And this is the honest truth. It was too much for me. And I told my husband, I said, Charles, I think I'm losing my passion. And it was really frightening. And he said to me, Carolyn, don't do anything. Just let's pray. And so we did that. And they're at my church, they were having a Valentine's celebration. And we used to be so busy, we couldn't even go and attend these different events. But he had bought tickets. And listen to this, we tried to give tickets away. We called 5 different people, and everyone said, no, we already have ours. So we couldn't give those tickets away. So I said, okay, it's okay. We'll just go. So I am so glad I went, because I sat next to a man who really said a lot of the things that I was feeling on the inside. And I had not shared this with anyone else except for Charles. And he said to me, he says, I want you to go and get a book. He said, do you like to read? And remember, I like to read. He said, I want you to go and get this book. And the name of the book is E-Myth, M-Y-T-H. And he said, I believe when you read that book, you're going to see yourself on the first few pages of this book. So I was like, okay. So, you get busy, and then the weekend happens, right? And, I was going to order the book and something else came up. So Monday, I go back into my office. Guess who's at my office? The guy. He's there with the book, a brand new book. And so he gives me the book. So he was determined I was going to read this book. So I went home because I'm a reader. That night, I read the book. And at first I got really upset because when you read that book, the first few pages is a lady who seems like she has multiple personalities. I mean, you think this lady is just crazy, but that's what I was looking like to other people that was working with me. And I was like, oh my goodness. So in this book, it talks about 2 ways you can scale up your business. One way, you can build all these different offices, you can hire employees, and then you can put them in there. Or you can create other business owners. And so at that time in the state of North Carolina, I was already helping. I had helped over 250 business owners start and write policies for their home care company. And I was like, this with franchising. Charles, why have we not thought about this? This is a way that I could help people, not for a short period of time, but for a longer length of time. So it was like light bulbs started going off, and we started looking up on the internet, because we knew from being part of the Amway business, if you're going to do anything, you need to get educated about it. So my husband goes online and he's looking for a place we could start getting training, understanding franchising. And he found the International Franchise Association. And we found they were having an event, and we were just hungry. We were so hungry just to learn. And that's how we started getting the ball running.
Wow. One of the common themes here is that you are a doer.
Yeah.
What drives you to act? A lot of people, as Mom mentioned, they may have dreams, they may have thoughts of things they want to do, but you actually execute. Has that always been something that you've done, intuitively, or did you have someone who was inspiring you as a young child?
Yeah, I think when I was growing up, because I was the lack of self-confidence, I would always get myself to a point to do something. Then I would like talk myself back down, so I would get myself back up, then talk myself back down. So as I started reading, remember what I talked to you about, all these books, even at the time I was going into the library, how to have confidence and power, how to have friends, and all these different things I was reading, and really getting into the Word of God and understanding who I am and how He's made me, and understanding when I'm feeling that urge, I can't just sit still. Even if I don't see the whole picture, you know what I can do? I can take one step. And then it's like, once I take that one step, it's like, then it's clear to me how to take the next step. but you have to start doing something. And I realized that if you stay stagnated and you don't move, it's only one way you're going, and that's going backwards. And I tell everyone that I mentor and that I talk with, you have to always keep moving forward. You can't stop, right? Even in war, Armand, you were in the military, and I don't know if you were in active war. And I've never been in active war, right? I've been in spiritual warfare, but not active physical war. But I don't think people, they just sit still and let the enemy come, right? You've got to keep moving, and you keep moving forward, and you'll get there, you know? So
Wow, I'm sure so many people appreciate those words from you, those words of wisdom. Those words of wisdom, Armand, back to you.
You know, I'm inspired. I'm motivated. I'm going to get back out there in the workforce. You know, I'm going to
Yeah, right. She said things you want to do.
yeah, things you want to do. Like, what's the things that you've been thinking about? Because a lot of us have dreams and desires. And, you know, one thing I think about is our time. We have no control of how much time, even though we set these goals that by the time I reach here, I'm going to do this. By the time I do this, I'm going to do that. But we don't know. So it's better to go ahead and take action. And one thing I used to do, and I told my husband this, I would say to myself, what's the worst thing that can happen? What's the worst thing? And I never would want to be, if I had the choice and if God allowed me to know, like, you know, you hear of people, we work with hospice clients, and in their last days, a lot of them would say, okay, I wish I had, I wish I had. And you know what I've said? I don't want to live my life where if I have that opportunity, that I would look back and say, I wish I had. What if
Yes.
I hadn't? You know, I don't want that. I want to be able to say I did it. And if,
Yeah.
hey, if it didn't work out, you know what? I learned from it, but at least I gave it an opportunity, right?
You know, I'm going to show you what one of my former employees said. What else can be said? That's it. Look at God.
That's
And
it.
it's all over you. It's all over you. Tell us the Franchise Action Network. That's an award, right? Was that an
Yeah,
award?
that was an award. But you guys did your homework too. Yeah. Yes, my husband and I, so the International Franchise Association, when Charles and I met and started understanding what they were doing, we had the opportunity to be able to go and educate a lot of our Congress people about franchising. Do you guys know that people do not understand how franchising works? They don't understand that these are small business owners in all local communities that are keeping the monies there in their local area by employing people. So we got the opportunity to even go and sit in front of the IRS, which was a little crazy to me, but we got that
Wow.
opportunity to share our story
Hmm.
about how we were able to start a business and be able to help them understand that these are not major mega corporations. So when you make these laws, think about how they're going to impact the small business owners. So
Wow.
because we did that, we did receive a award for doing that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, I'm going to pass you back to Ayana. Ayana, on you.
All right. So people in our viewing audience who might be interested in learning more about the wisdom opportunity, what could you share with them? Do they have to live in North Carolina?
Oh,
Um, you know, any of those preliminary questions that most people ask.
Yeah. So first of all, we just if anyone, and think about this, all of us have someone that we have taken care of, that we have no family members that are taking care of someone. And if they have a compassion that they want to make a difference in their local area, just reach out to us. You can email us. You can go to our website. You can go to WisdomSeniorCare.com, and Charles Thurston, his calendar's there. You can actually set up a one-on-one appointment with him. Or if you just want information, just go there and we'll send you some information. But we're right now growing, and we're looking at growing on the East Coast right now, in the Midwest as well. But we're doing it very intentionally, very strategic. We want to be able to support anyone who gets involved with us. It's like a team effort, right? It's not because you become part of a franchise system, oh, everything's going to be okay. You still got to do some work. There's a process. There's a system that's in place to decrease some of the headache. And what took me maybe 15 years to get to, we're having business owners getting in, and they're reaching this in a much faster pace. And that's what franchising is about. Right. So, yeah, we would definitely love anywhere. We're right now focused. So people will know Maryland has always been a very hot spot, Virginia, but we are focused too in Florida. Florida, South Carolina, and Georgia. North Carolina, we still have some great opportunities in North Carolina as well. So anybody, just reach out and we can have that discussion.
All right, wonderful. So you guys heard it. So I dropped the website in the chat. So anyone who's interested, you could click on that and set the appointment from there. So one word keeps coming up over and over again when it comes to senior care, and that's compassion. Now, do you think compassion is something that can be taught?
No, it can't be taught. I tell people that all the time, right? It can't be taught. And I tell people that if you don't have compassion, you won't be in this very long. And there's a lady that when you guys go to our website, she will always be part of our focus. She was someone who had a vision for wisdom that was so large. And in her words, wisdom is going to be large. I can see it. It's going to be over all these billboards. You're going to be on buses all over the world. This is what she spoke out to us. And one thing she would always do when we would send a caregiver, she would say, Carolyn, that young lady is not going to make it. And I would say, now, why are you saying that? You haven't even given her a chance. She says, okay, I'll do it, but she's not going to make it. She said, but for you, I'll go ahead and do it. But you know what it was? She said, she's in it for the money. It only took her less than 5 seconds to see it. So compassion is one of our core values. And anybody who we're bringing in as a franchise owner, we look for compassion, because whether or not you're working with those clients or not, you have to have compassion. Because if you don't have compassion, how are you going to hire people who have compassion? Most likely, you're going to hire people like you, right? So we're blessed right now that our franchise owners, and I can say 100% of them have that compassion. So that's our main core value.
Wow.
Back to you, Armand.
So, Carolyn, you are just full of awards. What is this Women's Business Center Award? You're touching me. What is this?
Yeah, so that was also really a great opportunity to receive that as a woman that is building a business and, staying committed to what the purpose is, even during the times when we could have just stopped, we could have just given up, but we just kept moving forward. So it was nice to have someone or an organization to really recognize that. Not only I don't see it as just for me, but it's for all the other women, even younger, even my daughters, my grandchildren, who are seeing that this is possible, right? This is something that I can one day look at and be able to achieve.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You know, one of the viewers, this is what they said. You know, they just want to thank you. You know, your expertise and passion for entrepreneurship is motivating. See, someone else is motivated. See that?
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
I'm telling you, you have done your job tonight. So,
All
Armand's going back out there. You know,
right. Oh, you're going to build a business, Amon? A different? You're going to add on to what you're doing?
I'm going to do that.
And you can do that. Yeah. I think all of us have talents that God has given us that can really help your local area. It's just about us really moving forward with what he's telling. Don't try to figure it out. And that's what I tried to do for a long period of time. How is this going to work? Where are the people going to come from? You know, my pastor, they used to always say, you build it and then the people will come. Right?
Absolutely. You know, you are very inspiring, and I am so glad that you came on the show and transparent. You know, just to share yourself to the audience out there. Before I ask you my final question, I'm going to pass you back to Ayana. Okay.
Okay.
And I just want to say, you know, thank you for coming on the show. This has been an amazing interview. As Amon said, very inspiring. I'm sure that you've touched a lot of our viewers out there, including ourselves. You know, Amon, there's one thing we can do for that next step. So we'll be discussing that next week. Awesome. And, we really appreciate you for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity because I don't take it lightly. And I thank you guys for allowing us to come and be able to share with your audience and a little bit about wisdom.
And what do you have any upcoming events or anything that people should look out for? What's next for you?
So I'm always doing a lot. We're going to Chicago tomorrow, but we do have a event. It's a national expo that is going to be in Miami. And anybody looking at franchising, oh my gosh, it's going to be huge. It doesn't matter if it's home care you're looking for. There's so many franchising opportunities out there. I would recommend that you reach out to us and we can give you some more information about that. We're also September, we'll be going back to DC to advocate on franchising with the International Franchise Association. I also didn't mention that I'm part of the board of directors on the International Franchise Association. We have a program for minorities who are interested in franchising. It's called the Ascension Program. Anybody who's interested, we can provide you with that information. It's a great 6-month program that can really educate you about franchising and help you truly understand how this could actually be a tool to help you create generational wealth.
Wow. And when is the Miami event?
May the 5th. And I can get you a flyer, Ayana. Maybe you could share it with your audience and things. But
for sure.
But people are able to come talk to these different people that are there and find out more, maybe find an industry that you're really excited about. And of course, we would love for you to look at WisdomSenior Care.
All right, I'm going to pass it back to Amon for last questions and closing remarks.
So now, Ayana, Carolyn, I don't know how she's going to do this, but you know, Carolyn, she's going to Chicago. I'm not sure if there's a clone or what, but you know, Carolyn said, "Hey, I'm going to take it to that event."
Carolyn stays on the road. You hear me?
Hey, well, you know what?
But I love it. I love it. I love that for her.
Yeah, I hate I can't come to your event. I told him now, if I had a private jet, I could get from Chicago to there a lot quicker. Hey, that would be make it really possible, right?
So now what positive word or encouraging word would you like to leave for the audience to help inspire them to live out their dream, not be afraid of their dream?
So I would leave this Ephesians 3:20 for anybody, and you can look it up. But to him who's able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that I could even think or even imagine, right? This is something that my pastor, she has us saying it together as a congregation, but I do it all the time. Things that the enemy may try to bring and maybe cause doubt to come into your mind. You know, when you talk about the way you fight those, so the spiritual battle, that's one of my spiritual tools, right? Is to quote back that word, and that helps. So I think I would find a word, a scripture that you can use when those times you feel naturally you're weak.
Well, woman of God, woman of faith, you continue following your dreams and allowing God to order your steps, because it's written all over your face. You know, it's just amazing. It's just amazing. And I've got to announce this, Ayana. We have an event coming up this Saturday, and we have some players that's going to be there. We're going to be awarding folks. Deja, yes. So we're going to have the Shine Band. The Shine Band will be performing there. You know, here the Double S Queens, Alika and Yolanda. They're going to be cooking. They're going to be doing the catering for us. We're also going to have the KBS show there, broadcasting live and conducting interviews. And then we got honorees, Leslie Stanton, the male, Paris Lane, the female, Tyler Womack, the future, Legends of the Year. And this is our thank you party, and it's easy to purchase your tickets. We have sold 79 tickets so far. I'm saying that tomorrow, no later than Friday, we're going to be sold out. If you haven't gotten your tickets yet, you want to get your ticket. And you know what? You know, I might just, no, I'm not. Purchase your tickets. You can go to our website and purchase tickets. You can go to Eventbrite and purchase tickets, or you can go to Cash App. You can Cash App me, $ Amon Wallace, to purchase your tickets. And we want to see you there. Come out, be a member in the group, and enjoy yourself. Have fun. We're going to have a DJ. You know, it's going to be fun. We're going to have a fun time. It's our first major event, and it's going to be an annual event. Carolyn, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Looking forward to seeing you in the place on Saturday. You know,
it is.
Maybe we can link with her when she comes to DC. We'll see. We'll see if how her schedule works out.
Okay, that'll be perfect. Yeah,
that sounds good. Next week will be our last edition of Women's History Month. We'll have an older woman who's going to be running for mayor. I'm not going to tell you who she is, but you got to join us to find out. Okay, one last thing. At the event, our illustrious history-making senator will be there to award our awardees with a proclamation. So show up in the place and let's have a nice time. Until then, enjoy yourself. Peace.
Peace, everybody. Good night.